Oh, I forgot to do that. Okay, 2.4 continued. We're going to start your section with that. We're going to review the forms we talked about on Friday. So, write an equation of a line passing through 5, -2, and 2, 10. What's the first thing I need to find here? Slope. Okay, because every one of those require me using slope. So, first thing you're going to do is remember your slope formula. Remember that one? Okay, that should be burned in your memory for life, forever, forever. It shows up again and again and again. In order for me to remember it, the way I remember it is the change in y, y1 minus, or y2 minus y1, over the change in x, x2 minus x1. That sticks in my head easier than just the letters. So, now you have to choose one of those to go first. It really doesn't matter which one's going to go first. What one you want to go first? The one with 10? Okay. So, y2 is going to be 10. y1 will be a -2. Now we look at our x values. 2 minus 5. These are positive. Since a minus makes a plus. I get 12 over a -3. What is my slope? -4. Okay, so now I have the slope. I know 2 points on the line. Which form of the equation of a line am I going to use? Point slope. If I know a point and I know the slope, we use point slope form. Okay, so we're going to start by writing that up. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, now again, it doesn't matter which point I use here. You can use either one and your final answer will be the same. So should we use the one we already have circled, the 210? Okay. So I'm going to say y minus 10 equals m times x minus 2. Oh, not m. What's my m? We just found it. -4. Okay. So now, like you did for today's assignment, you're going to distribute the -4. So -4 times x is -4x. -4 times -2 is a +8. And over here I still have y minus 10. So I'm going to add 10 to both sides. And I get y equals -4x plus 18. So again, unless it tells you otherwise, and there will be problems where it does tell you otherwise today, but unless it tells you otherwise, your final answer will be in the y equals mx plus b form, or slope-intercept form. Questions about how to do that? Okay. Then, the second type of problem you're going to see today. Actually, move this up. It's going to ask you to write an equation in standard form. Ax plus by equals c. Remember, we just talked about that. A, B, and c have to be integers. No fractions, no decimals. Okay, so the line passing through, they give me a 0.23 and the slope 4, 5. Which form am I going to start with? Point slope form. Have a slope and a point. That's what I'm going to start with. So again, I'm going to write down y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And you should write this down each time. And one reason you do that is because if you do that, it's going to stick in your brain better. If you write it down every time you use it, You're going to be remembering it without even thinking about it pretty soon. The other one is that way you can show your substitution. So my y is 3, my x is 2, and my m is 4/5. So I write y minus 3 equals 4/5 times x minus 2. Now there's going to be some fractions today. Well, 4/5 times x, that's easy enough. It's 4/5 x. When I take 4/5 times a -2, if you need to, write it over here on the side. Remember, if it's 2, it's 2 over 1. What is 4/5 times 2? 8/5. You'll multiply straight across. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 1 is 5. Now, I'm going to leave it in that form as an improper fraction, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. What's the sign? Is it positive or negative? Negative. So negative 8/5. I have a y minus 3 here. Now, remember here, our goal is to have it in standard form. No fractions, no decimals. So, I need to somehow make these fractions become integers. To do that, remember on either side of the equation, if I multiply every term by the same number, that's legal, right, on an equation. What am I going to multiply by? I want to get rid of 4/5 and 8/5 times 5. Look at what your denominator is. And you're going to multiply every number in that equation times that number. So we've got 5 times y is 5y. Minus 5 times 3 is 15. Equals. Now, let's look at the fractions. When I take 4/5 times 5, what do I get? 20 over 5, we can do it that way. And what is 20 over 5? That's going to be just 4. Now, the shortcut way to do it, when I multiply fractions, and this has to be times, if I have a number in the denominator and in the numerator, they can cancel each other. You can cross reduce. You get 4 times 1 equals 4, and 1 times 1 equals 1, so you get just 4. Okay, so that's how I know what to multiply by, because that's going to cancel out that 5. So I get 4x. What's 8/5 times 5? 8. So it's going to be minus 8. Okay, and now I've got all integers. Now I still need to make it be in this form. So whatever has the x with it has to be first. And then I have whatever has the y with it. And then I have anything that doesn't have x and y, the constants, on the right side. So let's look at what we have here. We have a y on this side. I need to move my constant to the other side. So let's say plus 15. So I have 5y, this is going to go to 0, equals 4x minus 8 plus 15 is plus 7. Okay, well, I'm getting closer. I have the y on the right side. I have the constants on the right side. I need to move my x to the right side. So I'm going to say, I'm going to run out of room here, minus 4x on both sides. So I've got minus 4x plus 5y equals, well, that goes to 0, so it equals 7. Now that would be okay to leave it like that. A lot of times, if we can help it, we don't like to have this negative out front. So what I would do is multiply everything by a -1 in here. So negative 4x times -1 becomes a positive 4x. Negative times a positive gives me a negative 5y. Negative times a 7 gives me -7. And that's your best answer right there. I would take either one of those, but this is the best. Okay. Questions? That's probably the newest thing that you haven't seen before today. Okay, so there's going to be some like that. The biggest trick for most of you is going to be working with those fractions. So we will be doing that. Fractions. Okay, one more. Write the equation of the line passing through 2, -5 and parallel to y equals 6. To do this, I'm going to draw you a graph because these are kind of the special cases. X and y. Y equals 6. What does that line look like?
Graph.
It's a graph, okay. What's its slope? Josh. There's no x there, right? So its slope has got to be 0. So it's going to go through 6. Y equals 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's going to be horizontal. Now, if I'm going to have an equation parallel to that, it also has to be horizontal. And what point is it going to go through? 2, -5. That's going to be the equation of that parallel line. It's going to have to be y equals again, right? So it's going to be parallel, the horizontal. Y equals, what's my y value in my point? -5. So y equals -5. That's not very parallel. Okay? Horizontal and vertical lines are special cases, but once you learn them, they're really easier than the other ones because there's only one number. Okay, so let's look at this other one. So y equals -5 would be your answer on that one. That's going to be perpendicular to y equals -1. X and y. So again, we just agreed that it's a horizontal line. It's got to go through -1. Now, if it's perpendicular to that, what kind of a line's it got to be? It's going to be a right angle, and it's going to be vertical. Okay? Everybody remember how we write a vertical line. It's got undefined slope, so you're on the right track. Undefined slope. But if it's vertical, what number never changes? The x or the y? The x. So it's just x equals a number for a vertical line. Okay? In our point we want to go through, what's the x value? 2. So what's the equation of my vertical line? X equals 2. Okay, so 1, 2, perpendicular, it's going to be x equals 2. Okay, so when you have those horizontal and vertical lines, you need to remember that it's either y equals for a horizontal, y equals a number for a horizontal line, x equals a number for a vertical. Okay, your assignment today, on page 102, you're going to do 27 through 46, all of them.